So once the scan insertion is done, so in the coming slide, I'm like, as I already discussed, the ATPG happens. That is the automatic test pattern generation. So in this technique generates a set of patterns to test the system on chip design. So they do is like they will generate a pattern, they will simulate with a fault to determine the pattern that can detect faults. So basically the main intention of ATPG is to target on manufacturing defects, which I have earlier shown you, like in the picture, there can be some open defects or some issues in the manufactured chip. So the ATPG generates some patterns that can aid us to test these defects. So this also help, not help, this also targets on the reliability of the device also. So you will understand that in detail in the coming slide. So this, I have like described with a very small fault. Like you can see in this circuit that it's a small circuit which has some small gates are there. From input is there and some output is there. So in this in the schematic, I'll be discussing regarding three different types of faults. The first one is the stuck fault. So as you see in the image, the highlighted area, you can see like stuck faults. So what stuck faults means, I'll tell you. You see the AND gate. So to the AND gate, the inputs fed are zeros and ones or any other input. So in my example, I'm giving a 0 and 1. So what do you expect over here? You expect a 0 at their output as it is an AND gate. But what happens due to some open connections or some short connection, there is a chance that that particular node, that is the output of this AND gate, is stuck at 1. So those type of faults are called as stuck at 1 faults. So similarly, if they are stuck at 0, they are called as stuck at 0 faults. So this is one type of faults, that is the stuck at faults. So these are faults we in turn test using ATPG patterns. So what we do is that we generate patterns so that we can test this particular fault. So there is another type of fault, that is a transition delay faults. So in this, what happens is this is an AND gate. So we are giving an input of high and another high at the input of a NAND gate. So what we are expecting like slow to rise. I mean the like output you can see, right? The expected output you can see in blue color. So but due to some delay in the NAND gate or some issues in the NAND gate, what happens, like there is a delay in the output. So what it means is you can see the red color marking right at the node output. So you can see the fault is activated over here and you see there is a delay in the output. So these are called as slow to rise faults. So similarly, you can even see that slow to fall faults also, because there can be some faults that is very really slow. So those are called as slow to fall faults. So this is a second type. And like I'll discuss regarding another fault also, that is the path delay faults. So you can see from gate 1 to gate 3. So in path delay faults, what we do is that the entire path between gate 1 and gate 3 is measured. The path delay will be the sum of all the individual gate delays. So the gates will be having some delays. You will be adding those, as well as there are some interconnecting wires between gate 1 and gate 2, gate 2 and gate 3, and between gate 3 and the output. So all these interconnecting wires are nothing but comprising of the smaller entities like resistors, inductors, and capacitance. So because of those, you will have some delay in the interconnecting wires. So the entire delay, the path delay is mainly focused on the entire delay on the gate as well as the interconnect delay. So when there is a path delay in the circuit, you test it with a path delay faults. So these are the some of the path delay faults I have discussed. So I'll tell you what means path delay test in detail. So in the slide, you can see there is a small sketch of a conventional delay testing where a combinational circuit is under test. So here, as I showed you the path delay fault earlier, that is, which is comprising of the delay in the gates as well as delay on the entire path. So there will be a predefined path delay fault model. So what this path delay fault test does is, like, they use this particular fault model and then test this circuit. So the path shown in blue in color, right, is inside a combinational circuit, is sensitized to detect a fault. This model is utilized to detect whether the path is too slow because of any faults at their internal nodes. This is just an example to show you how it actually works in industry. So for testing this, a scan logic is inserted as you see in the below. So using the scan logic, some scan inputs are being fed. So after feeding this, it is given to the combinational circuit and the resulting output is being fetched back. That is through the scan output. So, and the results of this are verified with if there is any potential fault. So if there is a difference, then it might cause delayed switching. So in the timing diagram, you can see what is an expected output over there. So what we get as a real output. So there is a delay in the real output. So which cause like a delayed switching. So with delayed switching, there can be an issue like the actual data is missed. So you get an erroneous data. So this is how the path delay test is actually done. So like I'll describe uh, about it in the coming slides. So this is a summary of the entire DFT flow where a DFT engineer will be working. So here, this is a summary of the DFT flow. So first the scan chains are inserted and then compression logic are inserted. And also the ATPG patterns are generated after that. So these patterns are simulated and then validated in silicon on a chip. So once these are done, then we go to the validation of it. Moving on to the next slide, I'll describe you in that. So this slide is regarding the post-silicon validation, which I have mentioned earlier. Like you get the patterns that is from the tester, you get it tested. So we get it tested and then like we verify it. So the post validation process comes into picture over here. So I'll not discuss regarding this in details. Like let's move on to the next slide. So here we will discuss regarding a live issue. What is a DFT engineer doing in a scan design? Okay, so this is a real problem or an error that needs to be resolved by a DFT engineer. You can see in the schematic, there are two flip-flops. The output of one flip-flop is fed to the input clock pin of the second flip-flop. As you see that clock pin should receive in the timing diagram, right? You can see the clock pulses are there. But what happens over here is that as it is fed from the output of a flip-flop, it will be a constant value, either 1 or either 0. So due to this, the second flip-flop will not work. So it will receive like a high or a low pulse. So it will not change the D input of until the flip-flop 1 changes. So let's see how the DFT engineer resolves this issue. So a multiplexer, so you can see in the second picture in the same slide. So a multiplexer with a select line is inserted to sort this out. I hope you all know the functionality of a multiplexer. Okay, so what a multiplexer does is you have like a zero, like two inputs and a select line is there. Using a select line, you will control the inputs. So here one input is coming from the flip-flop 1 and the another input is coming from the external of the block. So which I'm calling here it as test clock. So the test clock gets connected to the flip-flop 2. So using a test enable pin, that is a select line, the tester controls the clock from the external port. So now the flip-flop 2 clock becomes controllable and observable at the output. So this is one of the approach for solving this issue. Every company follows different approach. So I'm just showing like a single approach over here. Moving on to the next slide. So you can see in the schematic, yeah. So this is a scan live issue. So you can see in the schematic that register 1 and register 2 outputs are connected to the inputs. So of that is the reset and clock pin. So similar to this issue I explained earlier, here both the clock and reset pins are not controllable. So let us see as a DFT engineer, how do we control this in the coming slide. Yeah. So here, as I shown in the scan live issue, two muxes are inserted over here between the scan logic. One is for controlling the clock pin and another one is to control the reset pin. So the reset of register 1 is connected through one multiplexer and the clock pin of another register is connected to the another multiplexer. So all these are given to the register 3. So the fix over here is that we have added a multiplexer over here to clear this issue. So this means that we are adding the test points to these logic to get the controllability and observability of a circuit. So this is how we do in industry. So this is one such case. There are many other methods, many other techniques. what is being done in the industry. So here I basically described about the different DFT goals. Yeah. So the intention of a DFT engineer is to get the maximum coverage. So which is more than 99%. The coverage means whatever input patterns that you are giving, it should be capable of finding the faults in the circuit. If you are not able to observe those faults, means the coverage will be low. So the intention of a DFT engineer is to get a maximum coverage, and at the same time, you should get a minimize the test patterns. Just imagine, like, lot of patterns are there, and you can test all part of the circuit with so many patterns. So what happens is that you need a quite huge amount of time, maybe months or like maybe an year also, to test the patterns. So in that case, we are doing a compression technique so that the pattern size are reduced. And also there is like efficient techniques in the tools that can actually have like a better set of patterns to test. So the minimizing the test pattern is one goal. Then at the same time, like minimizing the test time also. And another goal is to minimize the area overhead on a chip. So for this, like, you should reduce the size of the chip also. So because the size is huge, means like, as now, see mobile everywhere, the size is getting compact, and you are adding more and more logic into that. So if it has become big, it is not good for like the customers. So always the intention of the semiconductor industry is to reduce the size of it. So here, these are some other goals of a DFT engineer. Like, you have to minimize DRC error. I have shown you like a DRC error over there in a scan live issue. You get a like error over there, and you have to solve it. It is a work of a DFT engineer. And also like minimize the test generation effects. And also like the intention, another goal will be to minimize the hardware and software needed for the test. That is that we are making the device like as much as possible, we are making it as self-test. I have shown you some of the goals of a DFT engineer. So here, like, these are like the role of a DFT engineer. What does a DFT engineer do? So like, we first of all, we identify the test requirements, and then we test the input and outputs of the chip. Then like we have some like memories inserted, that's a RAM or MBIST inserted over that. So these are being tested. So once these are tested, like hard IPs and internal structures has to be tested. Yeah, in the next slide, yeah, I'm showing over here the rest other role of a DFT engineer, like which I have discussed, like scan, compression, ATPG, and JTAG and boundary scan. So once these are inserted, like we simulate simulation. So once those are working out, we generate a test that in a test equipment and see whether this can be validated or not. So these are the like general goals of a DFT engineer. In the next slide, yeah, I'll be showing here the different DFT tools that is industrially used. So here, like the major vendors of the tool are Mentor Graphics, Cadence, and Synopsys. So for each technique, that is for scan, compression, ATPG, simulation, and MBIS. So each company follows the type of tools. Like maybe for Intel might use Mentor Graphics tools. Some other company uses Texas Instrument, uses Cadence tools. So it basically depends on the companies. Be a little bit different. So you need to have like understanding of tools. So here, like as you see, like the scan uses the Tessen tools. So these are basically to show the total, like the overall the tools that is being used in the industry. So we'll not go in detail regarding that. The overall, the coming course is divided into 12 sessions. So in the theory part and the assignment and the lab, what all we cover is like in the session 1, 2, and 3, the major focus will be to cover the scan insertion part. In session 4, Linux basics will be covered, because it's really important to know the basics of Linux, so that like you can like actually like it will be easier for you to play with the tools. So that will be done on the session 4. And in the session 5 and 6, the compression part will be covered with assignments and the lab work. In the session 7 and 8, the major focus will be on the automatic test pattern generation. You need to understand how the patterns are generated. So in session 10, the major focus will be to validate the patterns. In session 11, a small section of the embest will be covered to for you to understand what embest is, how does it work, how what's the importance of it. All those things will be covered on session 11. Standard JTAG will be covered. So this is the overall structure of the sessions. So here the opportunities of DFT engineers are discussed. So like there are like different sections. You have to clearly understand what each company does. There are different companies like the product based semiconductor companies like Intel, Qualcomm, Broadcom, Texas Instruments, Nvidia. So what these companies does is they actually design a chip, they manufacture it, and they test it. They just make the chip, and then it is being sent to a applications based companies. It's little difficult to get into these companies if you have a less experience, but actually you can work on these companies through a service based companies. So these companies are service based companies, are good to start for freshers and like less experienced people. So then like this is like moving on to the next slide. Thank you all for joining this session.